हेलो एवरीबॉडी, नमस्कार। आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। दिस इज़ अ न्यू शो, न्यू सीरीज, एंड आई हैव नेम्ड इट क्वेश्चंस ऑफ लाइफ because I always thought that in school, in colleges, in universities, everybody teaches you about every discipline of life, but nobody teaches you how to live and how to love. And these are the lessons you have to learn on your own, discover on your own. There are umpteens of books, thousands of discourses on this subject, but still we are always seeking. And if you're a seeker, you always want to ask lots of questions. In this series, there are not going to be any answers. They are just going to be experiences, interpretations, and different perceptions. And they are going to be questions. It was very difficult for me to choose my partner, a colleague, somebody who I can discuss with. After a long time of analyzing, observing, and studying, I found this in a gentleman called Mr. Desh Kapoor. He lives in US. We have never met, but we have met through ideas and thoughts. He has been constantly for a long time contributing to build an Indic narrative by writing a very tedious, a very detailed, and a wonderful newsletter every morning called Drishtikon, runs a website called drishtikon.com. We have decided whenever we get time, we'll get together on any Sunday morning or Sunday evening or whenever we feel like, and we'll raise some questions about life and try to share with you our own interpretations of those questions. So, here let me bring on Mr. Desh. Welcome, Desh.
हाय, क्या हाल है?
बस एकदम
How are
ठीक।
you?
हाँ बिल्कुल, सॉरी आपके यहाँ बहुत लेट रात है अभी अमेरिका में, बट but I always saw that lots of students when I was studying, only midnight they used to suddenly become genius, and throughout the day they remained duffers, but at night they became genius.
वो actually जब like at night actually things start to actually strike more rather than during the day with the hustle bustle. So I think it's a good time.
Good. So, friends, today's subject which we are discussing with you is, we always wonder why things are happening with us and not with others. What is happening around us? Do we have control over things? Is this what life is supposed to mean to us? Why do we marry the person we marry? Why are we born in a certain family, in a certain country? Did I decide to be born in a Hindu family in India, in a small town? Or I was destined to be born there? Did I decide to be a filmmaker, or I was destined to be a filmmaker? And this question of destiny remains unanswered, or maybe answered, but yet we remain confused. So today we are discussing destiny. And this was when I asked Desh, what should we discuss first? He said destiny. Why did you choose destiny, Desh? And what are your thoughts on destiny?
Thanks, Vivek. So actually, the reason why I chose Destiny is because like we have had a lot of misconceptions about that, right? So I just wanted to start off with that because that's a very good segue into what the Indic thought and the basic fundamental difference has been with the other thoughts. So let me explain. So basically, the concept of destiny means that there should be a God and God should be doing something. So it should be an interventionist God. So when there is a power up there which is actually doing something to you, whether taking away or giving you something, only then you can say, yes, such and such destiny or fate happened. But is that true? Like, is there a God up there? We are on a planet which is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. It is going around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. So whatever is up there is always changing. So there is no up there. So, and on this, like we have sent so many space probes out there. We have, seen with telescope a different galaxy. We haven't seen anybody with a placard saying God here. If there is God, if there is such a thing as, Ishwar, then what is it? So this is a very important question that we need to ask first before we say, okay, is somebody giving us or taking like something away from us? So that would be the basis of destiny, right? And that's where this whole search starts. Like about what we call fate or destiny, and there's a lot of discussion about that. And to me, the most fascinating area or the book where I always keep going back to is called Yog Vashisht. Now, Yog Vashisht. So when Ram was when Vishwamitra ji actually came to take Ram, because the Danavs were actually, trying to disturb them and things like that. At that time, Ram was 15 years old. Ram had just gone out and come back, back to his palace, and he was in a very disturbed state of mind. So at that time, he was in like almost like a Buddha state. The way Buddha went out and came back, and he was very depressed state about the world and how things are. At that time, Vishwamitra ji had told that you need to take him through the whole process of enlightenment. Now there was a dialogue that happened, that class where Vashishti took Ram through the whole enlightenment process. That is what Yog Vashisht is. So you can say it's a minutes of classroom between Ram and Vashisht. So what did they really discuss? And it is what actually Vashishti told Ram is something that can shake you in like a lot of ways. If you are a Hindu or if you are following like different religious thoughts, and like we can discuss about that. But what is your thought about God like itself, and what do you think about that? And then we can take it further.
I'm at a stage in life, I go with the experience. I think experience is my God. Because in the end, what I'm experiencing is what my life is all around me. What I'm observing about my life, what I'm understanding, because ultimately everything can be intellectualized. But in the end, how you are breathing is what matters, and that's where the God lies. So that's why I have stopped wondering whether there is God or not. Okay, if I stop breathing, then it doesn't matter whether there is God or not. So I'm not getting into existentialism part that we'll discuss sometime else. But as far as destiny is concerned, I think these are just words, destiny or luck or kismat and fate and all these things. But if you look at purely from science point of view, everything is a cell, everything is an atom, a particle, everything is made of that. And every particle has its own nature, has got its own composition, and it's the collection of all those cells determine what is the nature of an organism, what is the purpose of an organism in this world. For example, an insect has a different purpose, and a tree has a different purpose, and a fly has a different purpose. I have a different purpose. So this is where I think few things are predetermined, which are beyond your control. See, destiny, why do we wonder about destiny? We wonder about destiny because we cannot control certain things. So we pass it off as saying that there is something called destiny, there is luck and all that. In fact, पता नहीं पुराणों की कहावत है कहाँ की एक मुझे याद नहीं है, बट माई नानी और दादी आई डोंट रिमेंबर एज अ चाइल्ड दे शी यूज टू टेल मी, मेरे को एकदम से याद आ गई आपसे बात करते करते कि शी यूज टू से दैट देयर वाज वन किंग हु वाज एंटरिंग अ टेम्पल, ब्रह्मा के पास जा रहा था, एंड सडनली ही सॉ यमराज, एंड देन वन पैरेट टोल्ड किंग दैट यमराज एक्चुअली हैज टोल्ड मी that your days are over now and he is going to take you with him. So this king, he decided, then he took his fastest horse and he left the palace, and he just went on and on and on. He went 7 seas across, and finally he reached a place where nobody had visited before, and he said, nobody can find me here. And as soon as he was tying his horse to a tree, suddenly he saw Yamraj, and Yamraj said, hey, what are you doing here, man? And he was flabbergasted. And he said, because I decided to take you away from here. This is what you were destined. So sometimes we also follow our destiny. But if you go by Indian belief, हम लोग जो पंचांग बनाते हैं, जो जन्म पत्री बनाते हैं, कुंडली जो बनाते हैं, उसमें भी देखिए 9th नंबर में भाग्य होता है और 10वें नंबर में कर्म होता है. In the 10th house you have karma. Though I am a great follower of karma, I did not choose to be born in this family where I was born. I did not choose to be a Hindu. I did not choose to be an Indian. I did not choose to be a man. Even the education I got in my school was not my choice. My thinking is not my choice. In fact, I never had choices in these matters. Never. So today where I am in life, I mean, tomorrow I may think differently, but where I am in life, I think it's a combination of 3 things, which is what we call destiny, whatever we want to call it, destiny or fate or kismat, luck, जो भी हम कहना चाहें उसे. But destiny, I think, is life always gives you two choices or maybe more choices. How we pick up those choices is where buद्धि comes in. अब कई लोग हैं जो बड़े ज्ञानी लोग हैं, वो कहते हैं पर बुद्धि भी तो तुम्हारी चॉइस से नहीं है. You have not chosen how intelligent you are going to be, and this is true that everybody has a different level of their mind works at different speeds and at different there are different motors. Every motor is not the same. But as far as I am concerned, so buddhi comes and plays a role over there, and then you have to choose what your karma is going to be, and ultimately it's your karma which is going to decide where to. Karma is basically your choice. For example, when you marry somebody, you don't know where this marriage is going to lead to. 100% of the people in this world think this marriage is going to lead to happiness, but then a lot of people don't find happiness. Okay, when you pick up a job, you think, aha, this has happened. एक और अपने हिंदुस्तान में, भारत में एक मान्यता है, किस भाग्य में दुर्भाग्य छुपा हो और किस दुर्भाग्य में लाभ छुपा हो, nobody can determine that, and which is true. Sometimes something great happens to you, but eventually it turns out to be a very bad thing for you. But one thing I would like to, before finishing this thought, I would like to say is that destiny is a bit overrated also by lazy people. We have tried to hide behind destiny and luck and bhagya to cover up our laziness. And the answers lie in, I recently read again Patanjali's yoga, not Baba Ramdev, but the real yoga. If people know yoga never had asanas, it was just how to control your mind and everything. I think a lot of answers about destiny lie there, not overtly, but in between the lines, if you understand the messaging, which we'll discuss after this. But let me ask you this. If there is no God, and if there is no prarabdha, and if there is no predetermined course of life, then why certain things happen despite our control? We can't control them.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting. जो आपने एक कहानी सुनाई वो वाले किंग की. So there is actually another like very interesting story in Yog Vashisht. वो है रानी लीला की. So there is a Rani Leela whose husband has gone for battle, and she is a great devotee of Goddess Saraswati. And Goddess Saraswati ji appears, and she's asking, like talking to her. And Goddess Saraswati ji says that, Rani, you do not exist on just one, like in one dimension or one lok. तुम और भी लोकों में या और भी dimensions में exist करती हो. So it is something like that, like if you look at the quantum, like you were talking about the quantum and, like atomic and subatomic level. So quantum theory में एक है theory of, many dimensions theory, that, everything exists in many dimensions. So that was something that, Goddess Saraswati is telling, Rani Leela. So then she says, let me take you to another lok. Let me take you to another dimension where you exist. And there she goes, and there she sees Rani Leela too. And so this Leela too is sitting with her husband's dead body. And she says, oh, Saraswati ji, I have always been, like praying to you. Now you have appeared. And what I really want is that I want to travel with my husband to other realms of, existence, but in my physical body. So Saraswati ji कहती हैं तथास्तु. So Rani Leela 1 कहती है, you know, Devi, that this is not true, that this cannot happen. So why have you given such a boon? Which was a very good, question. So then Goddess Saraswati ji actually says something which just shook me, and it is very, very, like very interesting what she says. And I'll let me just quote it to you. She says, my dear Leela, I do not really do anything to anyone. Every jeev earns its own state by its own deeds. I am merely the deity presiding over the intelligence of every being. I am the power of its consciousness and its life force. Whatever form the energy of living being takes within itself, that alone comes to fruition in course of time. You long for liberation and you obtained it. You may consider it a fruit of your austerity or worship of the deity, but it is the consciousness alone that bestows the fruit upon you, even as a fruit that seems to fall from the sky really falls from the tree. वो ये कह रही हैं कि ऊपर से जो फल गिरा है, आप उसको लाख बोल दो कि वो आसमान से गिरा है, वो आपके साथ वाले पेड़ से गिरा है जो आपने खुद वो डाला है. There is another story about so Vashishti, like starting में बोलते हैं राम को, राम, God and Guru are irrelevant. What is really relevant is your पुरुषार्थ. और बात भी सही है, क्योंकि आखिरकार महाभारत में लाखों ऐसे लोग थे जिन्होंने कृष्ण के ऊपर तीर मारे. They were targeting Krishna himself because like Arjun was the most targeted person. So if just the presence of Krishna could change everyone, then it should have changed everyone in Mahabharata, but it didn't, because they had not done work on themselves. That is why they could not understand who Krishna was. So when he says that, and after that, somewhere in the middle, he says, Prahlad got his enlightenment by the grace of Vishnu. तो राम ने कहा, अरे पहले कुछ और अब कुछ और, ये क्या चक्कर है? मतलब पहले कहा गॉड एंड गुरु आर इररिलेवेंट, नाउ यू आर सेइंग गॉड इज like it's a grace of Vishnu. At that time, Vashishti tells him, he says, at the level of consciousness that Prahlad had reached, it is semantics whether to call him Prahlad or Vishnu. What he got was the grace of the consciousness. Whatever he got, like that was a grace of consciousness. And then Prahlad himself says, I am Vishnu and Vishnu is me. Worshipping Vishnu without being Vishnu is useless. That's what he says. So बात भी सही है. वो हम like उपासना बोलते हैं, तो उपासना का अर्थ ही है उप आसन. जब तक हम उस जगह तक नहीं पहुंचते, उस कॉन्शियसनेस तक नहीं पहुंचते, तब तक हमने वो हासिल ही नहीं किया, वो तब तक हमारी वर्शिप पूरी हुई नहीं है, राइट? तो इसीलिए ये जब कहा सरस्वती जी ने, उन्होंने ये कहा कि इफ यू हैव रीच दैट कॉन्शियसनेस, द फ्रूट विल कम फ्रॉम दैट कॉन्शियसनेस, नॉट फ्रॉम समबडी एल्स. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू गिव यू एनीथिंग. You are getting something because that is what you desire and that is what you work for. तभी हमारे वो ऋषि मुनियों ने हमेशा ये कहा कि like about कर्म, whatever you work for, that is exactly what you get. That is like why we always say tathastu, tat astu. Whatever you work for, that is what you get. So so basically मैं जब ये देखता हूँ, so I also look at astrology seriously or half seriously at times. And to me, the way I understand astrology is this, that like whatever I am like doing, like basically karma is like a software. जैसे मैंने कुछ किया और वो जैसे मेरे पर कोई इवेंट हुआ, जैसे कुछ वो किसी ने मेरे को बुरा बोला, मैंने उसका रिएक्शन किया. वो रिएक्शन, वो एक्शन और रिएक्शन का जो कॉम्बिनेशन है, वो मेरे सॉफ्टवेयर में बेक इन हो गया. ये वो चलता रहेगा. Like there are many different memories that are baked in. My own memory, there is a genetic memory, there is a my forefathers memory, there is a memory of this entire world itself that has been baked in, of the species that has been baked in. And Prarabdha and Sanchit are combinations of all these memories. So basically who I am at this moment is a combination of all these memories, right? All these memories joined together have like made me what I am. This is what I am. Now I have a choice whether I can break this like a link between action and reaction. क्योंकि वो action and reaction जो चला आ रहा है, वो इतने सदियों से जब मेरे जीवन में चला आ रहा है, मैं वही दोहराए जा रहा हूँ और मैंने वो चेंज नहीं किया, मैंने उसको तोड़ा ही नहीं. जब ये एक्शन और रिएक्शन का लिंक जब टूट जाएगा, तब मेरा भविष्य बताना भी मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Because the only reason why anybody can tell my future is because I was born in that nakshatra, in that time, in that place where it made sense for my entire memories to actually fructify. I'm the sum total of all my memories. My birth, my death, my whatever happens to me is the sum total of that. Now I can break that. तभी कहते हैं एस्ट्रोलॉजी में कि हम ये कह सकते हैं कि क्या हो सकता है, हम ये नहीं कहेंगे कि क्या होगा, because वो आपके ऊपर है. That is why nobody ever predicts भविष्य of enlightened beings, because they have already transcended their karma. Because they have already finished their karmas, and now those karmas can never impact them. So astrology का जो combination था, जो memories का जो combination था, that is not impacting them at all because they have transcended all those things. Consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously at different levels, at different memories, we have a choice. Whether we realize it or not is a different thing, right? वो हम उन मेमोरीज में वो जैसे एक बड़ा अच्छा एक्सपेरिमेंट हुआ था पीछे साइंस का which many people have read about. It is that scientists took some mice and they actually gave them a whiff of ammonia. At the same time, they actually gave them electric shock, and they kept doing it for some time. Now they found that in the subsequent generations of that same mice, if they only gave the whiff of ammonia, they would all be fearful because they actually linked ammonia to electric shock. And it went on to 7 generations. They said this impact goes both from father as well as from mother for 7 generations. Not only that, it also goes in even if it is an in vitro fertilization. Irrespective of how it was, irrespective of whether that generation had seen the ammonia and electric shock combination or not, it was always fearing ammonia for some reason. जो मेरे पूर्वज ने जो देखा और जो उन्होंने किया वो आज भी मैं सह रहा हूँ. तभी जब इंसान जब वो संन्यास लेता है तो हमारे यहाँ एक रीत है कि सबसे पहले वो सारे अपने वो रिलेटिव्स का, सारे अपने पूर्वजों का वो डेथ रिचुअल्स करता है कि अब मैं आज़ाद हूँ, अब मैं इनके साथ मेरा कोई लिंक है नहीं, क्योंकि इनका कर्म का भार अब मैं उठाना नहीं चाहता और मैं आगे भी कुछ करना नहीं चाहता वो इसके बारे में. तो कर्म और जो हमारे वो पहले की मेमोरीज हैं वो ही कर्म को डिफाइन करती हैं, चाहे प्रारब्ध हो चाहे संचित हो. और उसी को हम जो हमारा जो जन्म होता है, जो हमारी सिचुएशंस होती हैं वो ऐसी मेरे ख्याल से होती हैं कि which give us the best possible option or position or possibility to burn everything. Whether we do it or not is a different thing. But to burn our prarabdh, we have the best possible situation right now. When I was born in this family, this situation, in this nakshatra, everything, I was given a tool by the nature itself that now you can burn everything as much as you can, so you can get out of this rat. Now, like maybe I kept on repeating everything, and I kept on reinforcing all those memories and adding to those memories, which is a bad thing. वो होना नहीं चाहिए था पर हो रहा है, right? तो मैं उन कर्मों को और दृढ़ कर रहा हूँ, उनको हल्का नहीं कर रहा. तो अगर मैं उनको हल्का कर लूँ और वो लिंक तोड़ दूँ तो मेरी कोई डेस्टिनी कोई डिसाइड पहले से नहीं है. मतलब मेरे पूर्वजों ने या मैंने अपने पिछले जन्मों ने वो डिसाइड नहीं की फिर, पर डिसाइड मैं ही करता हूँ.
Brilliant, very, very, very interesting interpretation. So I was talking about Patanjali, but you spoke about Ram. Sometimes a lot of people wonder, even I used to wonder, if Ram was God, then why he was not destined to rule? Why he had to spend all his youth in a jungle? Was it destiny or was it teaching? Now, see, life is full of complex things, and I think that's where all the greatness of Hindu text is, that it poses so many questions, it takes you through so much of complexity, and in the end it leaves you alone. No other society or culture or faith has so many interpretations of the same thing. We have so many schools within Hindu thought. I mean, you will find people fighting over whether it should be called Hinduism or it should be called Hindu, it should be called Sanatan, it should be called Vedanta. What should it be called? I mean, उसी में इतनी लड़ाइयाँ होती हैं, मैं खुद देखता रहता हूँ दिन रात लोगों की. But coming back to this, I love philosophy, because philosophy, when science ends, philosophy begins, And I'm a student of science, so I'm a great student of quantum physics, but at the same time I read like you. I am also more philosophical oriented a person. So I am a great believer in Hindu philosophy. Though yoga is considered to be science, but I think it poses lots of philosophical questions. And if you read Patanjali, not the Abhransh nahi, jo pure original mein. So if we pick up one sutra from there, okay, that life is a sum total of your habits. You are a sum total of your habits. Right. And whatever the nature has decided, to leave few things in our control and few things not in our control, right? That is the how this motor works, this mechanism. If suppose you open a car and you'll find few things work on their own, like in Tesla, so many things are working from the headquarter, so few things have been decided. For example, breathing, it's not in our control. Even if the day, I mean, we can't control whether we breathe or not. Our blood flow, our internal organs, these things are not in our control, because thank God, if they were in control of humans, they would have died, you know. Sometimes bad memory, you forget for blood to circulate. You have bad memory, you forget to breathe, or people say, no, this race can breathe only this much. And so thank God we don't have any control on life. But we have control to modulate, moderate our breathing. We can decide the speed of breathing. We can decide the quality of air which we are breathing. You know, we cannot stop the engine, but we can decide how this engine should work. And that's where yoga comes. So it starts with the control over breathing, and slowly takes you control over blood flow, your digestion, and eventually control over your mind and your thoughts, whatever you are seeing. Right, it's as simple to understand scientifically, or and that's what we call meditation or spiritualism or whatever you want to call it. I have understood that ultimately I call it creative consciousness. You know, I think creative consciousness is the highest form of consciousness. That's where you start creating. Painting is not creating, you know. Very often we creative things, I meet so many people, they say, oh, you are lucky to be a creative person, I am an engineer. So I say, come on, you're also as more creative than me. You make bridges, you make motor cars. So what I'm saying is, so why creative consciousness? Because creative consciousness is not about creating cars and creating chairs and all that. It's about creating your own destiny, so-called destiny. You start creating yourself. You become the creator of yourself. Okay, I am born, say for example, and somebody has written on my hand a tattoo 786, or has written Om, or has written Shri Ram. Now all my life I look at that tattoo and I behave like that tattoo. I never asked what's my religion. When I was born, I never asked my parents, give me this name, Vivek Agnihotri, or what is my religion. They stamped it like a product which comes out on an assembly line doesn't decide what my brand name is going to be and where I'm going to be marketed and how I'm going to be distributed. But we put stamps on every product, made in, made by. Like that, we keep stamping people. Okay, and that was important for the society to do, because at that time we lived in tribes, you know, the tribal thing. It was important to stamp who belongs to which tribe, because other tribe was always enemy. So that was tribal consciousness. Within the tribal consciousness, some people understood, they said, aha, you know, I can create this fear, this insecurity amongst my people, and I can lead them. I can say, I'll go and kill the enemy because the other tribe is our enemy. And then ego started playing, and that's when the whole game of power came, you know. And he said, I'll get you rid of witches, I'll get you rid of ghosts, I'll get you rid of this thing. And that's where the whole concepts of hope and fear came in, because if you look at the primitive thing, there was no artificial fear. There were real fears, like I'm sleeping, some animal will come and take my child away, you know, or I'm going to get the fruit, I climb the tree, I might fall. Those are real fears. I may not get almonds to eat tomorrow, or I can't pluck fruits tomorrow. Those were the real fears, you know. But then this guy, the ego came in, and ego started creating artificial fears in people's mind, and that started becoming our memory. So hope and fear, if you see, simultaneously work. When hope goes down, fear increases. When hope increases, fear goes down. It's as simple as that. Okay, and the man spends his entire life between these two, getting manipulated by handbook concepts of destinies. You'll go to some guru or some sadhu, he'll say, no, destiny is everything. Start following that. And you are never in the creation of, if you look at the nature, nature is self-creative. Why do they say you want to create something, write a poetry, go to nature, go to jungle? Why people, when they are walking in forest, suddenly you have creative ideas? Because if there's a concept, if you believe in science and there's a concept of vibes and the electromagnetic fields, then you get the electromagnetic fields of self-creation. Every tree is self-creative. Even the animals have a creative instinct in that they keep creating things. Snakes leave their skin, you know, things like that. But that is at instinct level. So we are gifted with an additional quality, right? Which you can call the memory intelligence or cell intelligence. I would like to call it intuition. Everybody is born with instinct and intuition. But the problem is we very often ignore our intuition. Perhaps we are saying the same thing. And that's what Patanjali says, that intuition, some people call it samadhi mein baith ke milta hai. Jaise bhi milta hai, I'm not getting the process how you get it. But eventually, from ego consciousness, then you come into social consciousness where you start talking about family and stuff like that, you know. And देखिए जिंदगी भी वैसी है, aging भी वैसे ही होती है. And then you get into social consciousness, you know, and that's where you start, you want status. मैस्लो की जो थ्योरी है ना, बेटा शादी क्यों नहीं कर लेते, बच्चे क्यों नहीं कर लेते, दिस एंटायर मेमोरी एंड जनरेशन आफ्टर जनरेशन सेटल हो जाओ इंडिया में बोलते हैं. एंड फ्रॉम द स्टेटस कॉन्शियसनेस, वंस you have got status, you've got money and all those possessions you have got, and that's when you want to self-actualize yourself. You say, what is the meaning of life? Where do I want to go from here? What is happening around me? And that's when we start asking question, is there destiny? What we are doing right now? Okay, what is karma? What is this? And that's when you start exploring religion in a more philosophical and a metaphysical way rather than just ritualistic way.
Right.
You know, before that, तो tribe में तो ritualistic हो जाता है religion, and that's why there is so much of war in this world. अभी जो चल रहा है Islamic war and all that is all because ritualistic thing.
Right.
And I think after that, when you have self-actualized, you have done meditation, spirituality, yoga, whatever you want to do. A lot of people do different. In New Zealand, I was told that they gain, it's called death adventure, you know. Then you are left in circumstances where you are bound to die. I mean, there is no way you are not going to die, and you have to sign, and they leave you alone where you have no food and nothing. And some people have died also. But after finishing that, you figure out the real meaning of life and death. So people do different kinds of things, you know. I think the last stage of consciousness, I think, is creative consciousness, you know, and which is where Buddha reached, which is where all these great people reached. Okay, what you're talking about, that where you become one, the concept of oneness also comes over there. When you become the writer of your own destiny. एक मैं बड़ी अच्छी बात तुम्हें बताता हूँ. I know it's been 40 minutes, पर एक छोटी सी बात बताता हूँ. These things can go on and on and on. एक हिंदू कल्चर में हमेशा से एक बात बोली जाती थी कि जो गुरु का जो आसन होता था, वहां पे किसी को बैठने की इजाजत नहीं होती. They were told never take your teacher's आसन. गुरु मतलब ये ऐसे आज के टीचर ने जो ट्यूशन कराते हैं फीस लेके. I mean real guru. So one student once asked कि why? It's just a seat. I can sit there. What's the problem? Why these taboos? I mean, why this game of power and authority you are playing with me? What's wrong if I go and sit on his asana? So he said, but you never know. What if he's sitting there? You know what I mean? So if he's sitting there, not physically,
Right.
you know, so when you can be omnipresent, and that's where I think the whole oneness comes, when you become one with the nature, one with everything. Your memories are gone. I'm Hindu, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm Christian, I'm Indian, or I'm when you lose all your identity, when you become identityless, faceless, like in Zen and in Cheng in China, which all Buddhist philosophy is Hindu philosophy. So these are the extensions 2.0, 3.0s, but the motherboard still is the Hindu philosophy, you know.
Right,
So Buddha smartly packaged Hindu philosophy, and then they traveled. And but wherever you go in Zen, they ask you, what's your real Buddha face? What is your Buddha face? Because Buddha face is no face. जिसको हम लोग nothingness की भी बात करते हैं, but nothingness is not शून्य. Nothingness is not शून्य. शून्य is something. So I think that state, शून्य is when you don't have any identity, when you have no memories left. And that's when you decide, when there is nothing, you can just decide where you want to go. But before that, till that time, आप देखिए कि अगर आप लोअर लेवल ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस में हैं, तो जो आपके कर्म भी आपकी डेस्टिनी डिसाइड करेगी. आपके पास दो चॉइसेस होंगी, लेकिन आप जो है खुद डिसाइड करेगी आपकी बुद्धि कि हमको इस रास्ते पे जाना है, और रास्ता गलत भी हो सकता है, अच्छा भी हो सकता है. बट वंस यू रीच द लेवल ऑफ क्रिएटिव कॉन्शियसनेस, आई थिंक then buddhi also ceases, intellect, intelligence, memory, everything ceases. Then you are purely in oneness, and then you become simple. That's where the humbleness, simplicity, everything comes in. So far I know only so much. There's lot to learn, lot to evolve.
So So 2 or 3 things, right? Like one, वो जो आपने बोला न्यूजीलैंड का, वो that was very interesting. And interesting because मैंने देखा है कि बहुत सारे ऐसे गुरु हैं जिन्होंने मास्टर्स हैं जिन्होंने ये इस मेथोडोलॉजी को यूज किया है। जो डिसाइपल है उसको ऐसे स्टेज पे लाके खड़ा कर दो कि डेथ सामने दिखाई दे रही है और उसके दिमाग में बहुत क्लियर है कि डेथ ही है। अगर अपने आप को खत्म होते देख भी वो अगर आगे बढ़ने की हिम्मत रखता है, इफ दैट थिंग इज देयर दैट ही कैन गो बियॉन्ड हिज ओन डेथ, देन ही कैन टच दैट realm of deathlessness. For example, गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी ने भी यही यूज किया था जब उन्होंने जो पांच प्यारे थे उनके, जब उनको लाया, ईच एंड एवरी वन would go in and he would come out with a sword, full of blood, and everyone in that congregation understood that that person was killed. Now, for the second person to actually go towards him, he knew that he was walking towards death, or so he understood. But what he was walking towards is actually deathlessness, right? Because he was going beyond his fear of death. Now, what happened with Arjun was also the similar. He was at a point where, like, he was at war, and at that time, when he saw death in its completeness for everyone, that's when he got fearful. नहीं तो उसके पहले, महाभारत शुरू होने से पहले सिर्फ कृष्ण ही थे जो वो महाभारत को रोकने की कोशिश कर रहे थे। वो ह्यूमिलेट होकर भी कोशिश कर रहे थे, बाकी किसी ने कोशिश नहीं की। तभी उन्होंने, जब वो कहते हैं कि लोग उन्होंने वायलेंस के लिए कहा, और ये आई विल कम टू दैट पॉइंट ऑफ गुरु के आसन पे बैठने वाला पॉइंट, कि जब ये वो लोग कहते हैं कि क्या कृष्ण ने अर्जुन को वायलेंस के लिए कहा, उन्होंने वायलेंस के लिए नहीं कहा। उन्होंने, जब महाभारत शुरू नहीं हुई थी तब तक उन्होंने पूरी अपनी कोशिश की टू स्टॉप द वॉर। बट व्हेन यू आर इन दैट बैटल, एट दैट टाइम फॉर यू टू से कि मैं संन्यास ही ले लूं तो अच्छा है, दैट इज रॉन्ग। बिकॉज व्हाट कृष्ण वाज सेइंग वाज देयर वाज अ टाइम फॉर संन्यास, बट इट वाज देन। एट दैट टाइम you didn't realize it. Now this is a time for war because that's where you are. So you have to live in that moment itself. You have to give to the moment what it needs, right? Whether it's war or this thing. So that is why when we actually pick the words of people, of beings who are at a different level, we actually do a very gross injustice to ourselves and to them because we are not at that level. When Krishna says to Arjun, जब अर्जुन ने पूछा कि आप कौन हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा मैं पर्वतों में मेरु हूँ और वेदों में सामवेद हूँ और इसमें ये हूँ और उसमें वो हूँ, और अर्जुन आई एम एवरीथिंग। इन द एंड ही सेज आई एम एवरीथिंग, मैं सब कुछ ही हूँ। फॉर हिम टू से आई एम एवरीथिंग is an experiential thing. When that person says कि yes, go and fight and kill someone, he's actually asking you to kill something or somebody who is he himself, and he says very clearly कि मैं सब कुछ हूँ यहाँ पर, जो मर रहे हैं, जो मरने वाले हैं, जो आगे भी मरेंगे, वो भी मैं हूँ। See, for him it is an experience, for us it is just an intellectual discussion. For him it was not. ऐसे ही जैसे राम और सीता का था, for Ram, Sita was part of him, not a separate person. For him to say something about Sita was like saying something about himself. Like it is like two lovers, right? Now two lovers can say a lot of things about each other, and like if he say, oh उसने तो ये कहा था उसके बारे में, like you don't know because you don't have that relationship. There is something else that is going on between them that you cannot be part of because you are not part of that. What happened between Ram and Sita, what happened between Krishna and Arjun, only Krishna and Arjun know. Even Yudhishthira couldn't know, because if he had to know, then he would have been given that. He was not given that. Only two people got it first hand. Who? Sanjay and Arjun. कृष्ण ने अर्जुन को एक गुरु के रूप में गीता दी। सिर्फ वर्ड्स नहीं थे, जो भी कभी भी इनिशिएशन से गुजरा है एक गुरु से, वो जानेगा कि when initiation happens, what the guru says is not important. What he transmits is the critical thing. That is why what was transmitted to Arjun was not transmitted to Sanjay. Although Sanjay also heard the same thing at the same time. Why didn't Sanjay become Arjun? Why didn't Sanjay become enlightened? हम तो पता नहीं कितने हजारों लाखों करोड़ों हैंड वो हमें वो गीता मिली है। उसको तो फर्स्ट हैंड
Yeah.
वो गीता मिली थी, और धृतराष्ट्र को सेकंड हैंड गीता मिली थी। उसने सीधा सुनी थी जो वो हो रही थी, तो वो एनलाइटन क्यों नहीं हुआ? तो हम सिर्फ गीता पढ़ने से एनलाइटन थोड़ी होंगे, जब तक unless and until we are at that level that Krishna actually comes and gives that, takes us through that, the whole process. See, if Gita was just a book, it would have been very easy. वो रात को आते कहते ये तू सुबह पढ़ के आइयो, चल महाभारत लड़ने जाएंगे, वो बहुत आसान था। बट इट वॉज नॉट अ बुक, राइट? लाइक इट वॉज अ प्रोसेस। एंड इनफैक्ट योग वशिष्ठ में वशिष्ठ जी बोलते हैं राम को कि अगले युग में कृष्ण आएंगे, वो अर्जुन को ये बोलेंगे। तो जो अर्जुन को बताया गया था कृष्ण के द्वारा, that was all there in Yoga Vashisth already. The thing is, Gita happens when a guru takes a disciple through the process of enlightenment. जब रामकृष्ण परमहंस ने नरेन को विवेकानंद बनाया तो गीता हुई, तो वहाँ गीता घटी। जब रमन्ना महर्षि ने इतने सारे वो अपने डिसाइपल्स को एनलाइटन किया, उस प्रोसेस को लेके गए, तब गीता घटी। तो गीता इज अ प्रोसेस, राइट? So that is why, like, whatever a guru says and guru says or does, like, you cannot be there. You are not at that level unless, वो जैसे वो कहा प्रहलाद ने कि the only way to get benefit of worshipping Vishnu is being Vishnu himself. If you are not Vishnu, then there is no way you can ever get benefit of worshipping Vishnu. So क्या हम कुछ ना करें? हम पुरुषार्थ कर सकते हैं, अपने आप को उस लेवल तक लेके जा सकते हैं, पर जब तक उस लेवल तक नहीं पहुंचेंगे तो हम सिर्फ एक वो डील कर रहे हैं वो विष्णु के साथ कि मैं ये करूंगा और मुझे ये देना, मैं ये करूंगा मुझे ये देना। So कर्म के लिए we have to reach at that level. So
I think both of us are saying the same thing, and just to conclude it, I think we had a great discussion, and Desh will also discuss lots of things. But just to conclude, I would say, you want to, whatever one wants to call it, but one thing I can say with guarantee: you start changing your habits, and you see your destiny changing automatically.
That's true.
Habits are like your software. You change, upgrade your software, change it. And very often we try to hide behind our laziness, hide behind saying ये तो luck है, destiny है. It's not like that. I don't think so. So next time let's meet again and discuss something which appeals to both of us, which we have experienced in life. So we'll keep coming. We'll try to keep it as frequent, as weekly as possible. But we don't want to be bound by this compulsion कि नहीं इतने बजे यही होना. Then it becomes like a regiment. It becomes like more like a punishment to us and to the viewers, since we are talking about philosophical, and our idea is to interpret concepts of Hindu philosophy, of Sanatan, of Indic knowledge in a new modern way, so that lot of your children, teenagers, youngsters can also connect and understand it. So thanks Desh for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So friends, this was our first episode of Questions of Life. You can write to us. You can write at I Am Buddha Foundation. You can also visit drishtikon.com which Desh runs. And we are trying to bring knowledge to you. We are trying to do create a narrative. We are trying to educate people with lots of insights into our great culture, our great philosophy, and eventually whatever helps make our lives better. We do a lot of work like this with young people. So if you want, if you like our work, you can also support us emotionally, spiritually, by sharing our programs. And also if you want, you can donate at I Am Buddha website. Thank you very much. I'll see you again. Namaskar.